Hey, what's going on? It's Jeff Newport from chasingstrength.com. And in this video, we are going to make the case against doing the kettlebell snatch, right? What? That's kind of crazy. Because isn't the kettlebell snatch like the best single kettlebell exercise that you can do? I mean, isn't it super powerful? Doesn't it make you look cool? And doesn't it make you feel cool? Yes, absolutely. And doesn't it have a reputation as an outstanding total body conditioner and a fat burner? Yes, absolutely. All this stuff is true. But the fact of the matter is, most kettlebell users, especially those of us who are over a certain age, over 35, right? We don't want to start out on this. And that's because most of us sit all day long and that makes your body a mess. Essentially, I'm not going to go into details there, but it's going to take you a while, 3, 6, 9, 12 months for some people, especially if you've got back issues, lower back issues, hip issues, or shoulder issues, right? We want to take care of those things first and foremost before we start lifting a weight explosively over our heads, okay? With one arm especially. It's a great way to injure yourself, even worse than you are now, okay? So what do we need to do in order to fix those things, right? We need to have some kind of restoration or mobility process in place, and we need to realize the following truth. The single kettlebell snatch is based off a culmination of skills you acquire from the other kettlebell lifts. All right. A lot of people don't want to talk about that. All right. So here's what I mean. The very first thing you need to learn is the hip hinge. Okay. Now, as I said, most people sit all day, right? Especially if you've been sitting for 10, 15, 20 years and haven't had a lot of activity. Your hip hinge is going to be horrible. Okay. Sorry to be the burster of bubbles, but let's get that thing dialed in first. And how do we do that? Well, we're going to do a lot of swings. And then once we get swings down, right, you're going to do a lot of two-hand swings. You're going to use one kettlebell first and foremost. And you're going to do two-hand swings. And then you're going to do one-hand swings, okay? After you do a lot of two-hand and one-hand swings to establish that hip hinge pattern and strengthen the posterior chain, which is the group or set of muscles that run from the base of your skull down to the backside of your body to the tips of your toes, all right? But especially your lower back, your glutes, your hamstrings, and your calves. That's what most people talk about when they talk about the posterior chain. We're going to strengthen those muscle groups. Okay, we're going to use the swings primarily, and then we are going to use the cleans. Okay, the clean is where the kettlebell ends up here in the rack position, right? That's only, you can cheat clean when you first get there, which is where you use two hands. But ultimately and quickly, you're going to want to get to the single kettlebell one-hand clean. All right. So that's the hip hinge. That's how we protect our lower backs doing the snatch. That's the very first thing. Now, the second thing is we want to establish, create, reestablish, recreate, restore, however you want to say it, overhead, shoulder, most stability, which is a combination of mobility and stability, and lockout strength. Okay. So that's the ability to hold your arm perfectly straight over your head. So if we turned you sideways, okay, your arm would be perpendicular to the ground, not out front, okay? Not like some goofy Nazi salute, okay? But directly over your head. And more importantly, that you can do that without arching your lower back, okay? So if we drew a plumb line from the top of your fist all the way down to your heels, it would be a straight line, okay? Or ankle bone, roughly, all right? I forgot to tell you what to do in order to fix your shoulder most stability, mobility and stability, and to acquire your lockout strength. And that's very simple. You're going to use the Turkish get up. Okay. That's going to teach you how to fix that arm over your head and support a weight and move your body underneath that load. All right. So Turkish get up for shoulder most stability and overhead lockout strength. So that's the number two thing we want to do. Number 3 is taming the arc. So it's learning how to keep the kettlebell close to the body for efficient force production, okay, and force reduction, right? So we don't strain the lower back or tear a bicep, right? I have seen people tear the long heads of their biceps snatching because they did it incorrectly and they did not follow this process that I am outlining for you. All right, so we need to tame the arc. How do we do that? Well, that's where the clean comes in, okay? That's going to teach you how to deliver the kettlebell, all right, into the rack and start learning how to tame this arc, okay? The arc is very similar on the clean and the snatch. It's just longer for the snatch, okay? And that increased distance means there's increased force on the muscles of the arm and the muscles of the lower back and of the hips. Okay, so we want to make sure that the body is prepared to do that. Okay, so we got one more piece, and that is actually the dynamic movement of the arm over the head. So the Turkish get-up teaches you how to hold the lockout position, how to establish the lockout position and maintain strength in that lockout position. But we still have to get the kettlebell. We still have to teach the body how to get the kettlebell into this overhead position. That is what the single kettlebell press does. Okay, so again, let's just do a quick recap, right? There are four skills you need to learn, not just learn, but actually master is probably a better way of saying it, in order to do the kettlebell snatch, in order to perform the kettlebell snatch, in order to enjoy the kettlebell snatch safely and effectively. The first is a hip hinge. We're going to do it with swings and cleans. The second is overhead shoulder, most stability and overhead lockout strength. We're going to do that with the Turkish get up. The third is taming the arc. We're going to use that or start to tame the arc using the cleans. And the fourth is learning how to move the kettlebell overhead and establish this pattern, right, of dynamic lockout as opposed to static lockout with the Turkish get up. And we're going to use presses to do that. All right. So the snatch becomes a natural progression from all those skills. And when you follow those skills, that means the snatch is actually going to be relatively easy for you to perform, and it's going to be relatively gentle on your body, at least your joints. But by gentle, I don't mean that it's not going to produce results. I just mean it's not going to hurt you when you start performing it. All right. If you don't do it, you're setting yourself up for failure. I guarantee you. I already mentioned earlier in this video that I have seen people tear the long head of their biceps snatching incorrectly because they weren't prepared for that. But that's not all you can expect, okay? If you fail to follow this process and heed the warning and advice that I'm giving you, you can also expect a healthy dose of elbow tendonitis, right? Right here. I believe this is golfer's elbow, okay? That feels really good. You might even get some tennis elbow. Wait, I should probably show the camera, right? Okay, so right, tennis elbow is here on the outside, golfer's elbow right here, right there. And it just feels so good when you get it. Oh man, and that stuff just takes forever to go away. So say goodbye to not only snatching, but pressing, any sort of pull-ups that you might be doing. All that stuff goes out the window, okay, if you get a nice case of elbow tendonitis. All right, you can get a nice lower back strain. And man, those things feel really good. It's so fun not to be able to bend over for a couple of days. Or in my case, 20 years ago, I had a nice back injury that locked me up for 2 weeks. That was awesome. Literally took my breath away. I was talking like this because my diaphragm spasmed. So take it from somebody who's had a back injury. You don't want one. Okay. So we've got elbow issues, lower back issues, shoulder issues, and bicep issues. Okay. So fun stuff, obviously. Right. Obviously, that when I just said fun stuff, that was sarcasm. So hopefully you picked up on that. So if you want to tackle the kettlebell snatch, go through and practice those four things. Those are part of the level 1 and level 2 skills that we discussed in some of the previous videos you can find on this channel. And then at the end of the day, you're just going to have to practice the snatch. Okay. So practicing something does not mean beating yourself down with a bunch of high rep nonsense. Okay. It's skill work, which means you need to do it in a state of little to no fatigue, which means you're going to use lower reps in multiple sets. Okay. Now, if you're at that stage and you want a program, I'll leave a link to a program below this video that will help you do just that. All right. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, click the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and share it with a friend who's using kettlebells. And definitely share it with a friend that you know if they've injured themselves using kettlebells, because this will probably explain why. All right. Hope you found this helpful. I enjoyed making this video for you. Until next time, stay strong, my friend.